What's up, I'm Colleen and welcome to my channel. I'm just a girl who's enthusiastic about makeup and positivity, and when I say positivity, I mean bringing people up, not pushing people down. Being mean is not cool. Also, people are not mean, so be kind all the time. So welcome to another edition of Friday Frights. I hope you guys are having a nice week so far. And so in this edition, I am bringing you a story of two sisters who start to encounter some otherworldly experiences that just cannot be explained any other way than it is paranormal. So before I get into it, I'm just going to do my makeup and tell the story. I'm going to try not to stop and like tell you what products I'm using. So I'm just going to show you really quickly. One of the things I'm going to be using is from Fenty Beauty. It's that little, like, their little tiny little 6-pan shadows. This is in Money and it looks like this. And then the other ones I'm going to be using are from brands, unfortunately, that are no longer in business, so I'm just not going to feature them at all. And I'm also going to be using this really cool multi-chrome from MBA Cosmetics. This I'll probably show when I do it. So like I said, the story involves two sisters. One sister is a teenager and one sister is a child. It takes place in the early 2000s in a suburban New York town. So there didn't appear to be anything like unusual about the house. It wasn't particularly old. There didn't seem to be any stories about the area that was in. Like, there was nothing just odd about it. And at first, when they were living there, everything seemed normal. But then the usual things slowly started to happen in a house that usually has paranormal activity. And when I say like the usual things, I mean like disembodied footsteps, weird noises, things opening and closing without anyone touching it. Just things like that just started happening. The family did talk about it a little, but it didn't bother them too much because it wasn't anything that seemed to like disrupt their and affect their daily, like, day-to-day life. It wasn't anything like too scary or wasn't something that seemed threatening. So it just kind of like went on, and they just continued with their daily lives in their house. Then one night, the older sister was having one of those nights where like she just couldn't sleep. Like, she was just tossing and turning, back and forth, like not sleeping at all, watching, the clock tick down as it became sooner and sooner, closer and closer for her alarm to go off, and she had to get up and go to school. We've all had those nights, and I hate those nights. And like, it's one of those things where you like, I'm not going to look at the clock. I'm not going to look at the clock. But of course, when you're like telling yourself you're not going to do something, that's when you're going to do it more. So she's continuing to toss and turn. She, of course, turns over again and she faces her clock, which is on her nightstand next to her bed, except this time she is met with an unexpected visitor. Flabbergasted, she just like continued to stare at this being that was about a foot tall that just seemed to like dance and skip around her nightstand. It was dark, but she believed that this being was a male, and he was wearing clothing that reminded her very much of what you would see depicted on leprechauns. It didn't seem to be aware of her, and he didn't seem to care if he was. He was just skipping around as if there was music playing, but like she couldn't hear anything, so it was just like this thing that was like just dancing around on her dresser. After a few seconds of being like completely awestruck, reality set in, and she freaked out and realized there was an otherworldly being in her room. She didn't scream or anything because at the time she was still sharing her room with her little sister, who was rather young. She didn't want to freak her out, so she just quickly pulled the covers over her head and pretended it didn't happen and tried to her best to fall asleep. The next morning, she didn't say anything to anyone just because she wasn't sure exactly what happened. She knew she saw something, but like, I mean, how do you explain that to somebody? Like, there was a leprechaun dancing on my nightstand at night, you know, and she didn't want it to be like someone telling her, oh, you were probably just imagining it, you were probably really asleep, blah, 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 even though she knew she was 100% awake. So she just kept it to herself and just, you know, kept on going. So one day, her and her little sister were talking, and she had kept this story to herself for a while. She hadn't told anybody. So nobody knew what happened at all. I love this color. It's Cornucopia from NBA Cosmetics. It's a multi-chrome, and I put a little mixing elixir in it to make it liquidy so it goes on nice. So the little sister decides to confide in her older sister that she has something really weird happen to her in the room when she was trying to sleep one night. She was trying to sleep, and she turned over, and across from her bed she could see this sort of like magical window into another world or dimension or realm or something. And she said there was this childlike creature sitting there on his stomach with his hand, you know, like this on his head, and he was just casually looking back and forth like this, again without a care in the world. Didn't seem to notice that there was like a wind, like people from another dimension could see into their dimension. He was just completely unawares to that fact. He was just living his own life, just, you know, having a great time, you know, just relaxing. And she said it was like, it seemed like a meadow or a prairie or something, some very pretty like area, and he was just like chilling there. And she again also described him, and she said he looked like he was childlike, but she also said that he reminded her of a leprechaun. So the older sister couldn't believe that, because they hadn't told each other this story. Now they both are telling, they're a little different, but at the same time they're very similar stories. They're both stories about creatures appearing in their room, again completely unawares to the fact that they are appearing in a different dimension, and they both seem to be like leprechauns. So it was just very odd, and the two of them just talked about it, and they knew they had these experiences. They knew they weren't sleeping. They knew they both had these experiences with these leprechaun type creatures. They know what they saw, and they both felt validated because of the fact that 2 separate times, and it wasn't the same time, that they had these incidents. Like they were, you know, this happened. So yeah. Now both sisters only had those particular experiences once, but throughout the rest of the time that they lived in that house, there were just odd occurrences, like I said, disembodied footsteps, voices, things opening up, you know, just things like that. And it happened, and the family would continue to have those odd paranormal experiences until they moved out of that house later in the year. And they moved out of the house later in the year. It had nothing to do with the paranormal experiences. The thing about this story is I know it's actually a true story, because the 2 sisters in this particular story were me and my little sister. So this is my finished look right here. I like it, very green. I figured I would go green for St. Patrick's Day. I thought it'd be kind of fun to tell the story as if I was reading it as someone else's story, rather than that it was my own story from my own vault of creepy things that have happened to me. Now that the jig is up, I can tell you that happened about 20 years ago. I was 17 at the time, and my sister was, she's 8 years younger than me. She was 9. Yeah, it was really weird. Weird things happened at that house. I can't explain what that was that I saw. I know I saw it. I know I wasn't sleeping. You can believe it or don't, but I know that's what happened. I know she wasn't lying, and I still remember us talking about it, and it was so weird because we both described these little creatures as like leprechaun-like, and it was just so odd. And like, I don't know what it was. Like, I don't know if they were somehow just like, you know, I wish I had remembered what time it was, because it would have been really cool if it was like 3 o'clock, you know, like the witching hour, and like when they say the veil between the worlds is like the thinnest, you know, at night. it would have been cool because that would have made a lot of sense. I don't know what it was doing. I in my impression, I don't think it was aware that I could see it. Maybe it like had some magical powers. It was kind of like, you know, coming through, but it was like dancing. I don't know what it was doing, but yeah, and it was just like, it looked to me like what a leprechaun looked like. And my sister said too, hers was a little bit different because mine definitely, I don't think was a child. She said hers reminded her of a child, but like it wasn't fully, like she thinks it was more like childlike, but it was like a leprechaun type of thing. And again, it was the same type of thing that she, it didn't seem to be aware that she could see it, and I don't think that it could see her either, from what I remember her saying. And I think it's really interesting because she was younger at the time, that maybe that's why she was able to see into the world more, because they say kids can see more than adults because adults tend to like close stuff out or whatever. I don't know, I just thought it was interesting. You know, that house definitely had some weird stuff going on to it. I don't know if I told any more stories about it from Colleen's Creeptober. I'll keep them in my, you know, pocket, and I'll share them again. But yeah, it was just really, it was an odd experience. I don't know if it's still haunted or anything. I have no idea. We still have haunted experiences, so maybe it was us. I know, those are things that just happen to us. You either believe in that stuff or you don't. It's cool if you don't, but I thought it would be fun to share that story for this edition of Friday Frights, because it kind of had to do with St. Patrick's Day, because it did look like a leprechaun, and I figured that would be perfect. And with a name like Colleen, you probably figured out I am part Irish, so we do celebrate St. Patrick's Day every year. It's kind of fun. I really enjoy it. So yeah, that was the first time I had used a Fenty eyeshadow. I had never used, I have Fenty eyeliners and I have a Fenty, like, something else. I can't even remember. So they worked pretty well. I used a few of them in my look. They were nice. I wanted to try it out, so I saw that when Sephora was having some kind of sale, they had a coupon or something, so I purchased that. It was only like $25. And I love multi-chromes, as you know, and this one is such a fun one. I don't know if you can really see it in the light, but this is Cornucopia from NBA Cosmetics. It's a really pretty color shifty color. I don't want to dump it. Like I said, I mixed it with a mixing medium, so it went on like a liquid. Yeah, so if you guys have ever had any weird stories like that or anything, or if you want to like add your 2 cents to what you think it possibly could have been, I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts on it. I'm always open to hearing people's ideas, you know, stuff like that, especially when it comes to the paranormal, because, you know, it's one of those things that there is no concrete explanation for that kind of stuff. So it's just so cool. So anyway, my celestial cupcakes, that is it for this video. So if you liked this video, please feel free to give it a like. If you really, really liked this video, please feel free to subscribe. If you want to do neither one of those things, that's fine. I get it. I know I'm not one of the cool kids, but that's okay. And I thank you so much for stopping by anyway and spending this minute with me. I really, really appreciate it. I will still send you tons of happy thoughts and positive vibes your way just for stopping by. So thank you. As always, I will have everything that I'm wearing on my face, as well as my Twitter and Instagram handle listed below, in case you'd like to follow me there. I post pictures of looks that I did not film, as well as pictures of my pets, and I think they are adorable. But of course, we are all biased when it comes to our fur babies, but oh well. So anyway, from one makeup lover to another, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. And remember, be you, do you, love you. Bye!